Well, a good Tuesday morning to you, Central Georgia. Welcome here on 13 WMAZ Plus. Like I said, we're trying to make a regular habit out of these daily streams sometime around 10 to 10:30 each and every morning. I apologize for it being 10:05, but Tuesdays are a little bit of a hectic day here. We have to record Central Georgia Focus. We have a lot of stuff going on during Tuesday morning, so I appreciate you guys for tuning in, even if it is about 5 minutes later than usual. But what we're coming here to do is obviously give you a look ahead of the rest of the week, maybe our next rainmaker on the horizon towards the end of the 7-day, and kind of break down some things with yesterday's severe weather. We've had reports already come in from the National Weather Service, not necessarily here in our area, but kind of giving you a timeline for that damage and kind of the reasoning behind what we were doing over the course of yesterday's coverage. So right now, let's take it over to our sky cam right now. And I think we're going to start out, I believe it's still in Macon. So yes, you see Macon, bright and sunny, no clouds in the forecast whatsoever. However, Macon is the exception right now. Macon is the only sky cam, as I last checked, that does have any sunshine whatsoever. We take it to the Georgia National Fairgrounds now, and you can still see some cloudy skies lingering. Now, some of these areas farther to the south, number one, they had fog present during the mornings, so that fog is beginning to lift up higher into the sky. Macon also did have a little bit of fog, not necessarily in the downtown corridor, more South Bibb County, but all that fog is obviously still kind of blocking our image of sunlight so far this morning, and cloud cover was present farther down to the south in central Georgia. So you'll see a very similar story in downtown Dublin right now. Still some cloudy skies, even some dark clouds out there on the horizon. And then one more sky cam taking it to Warner Robins, where just north of Perry, that is not a sky cam right there. So I guess we're having a little bit of it there, partially. Let me click out of it. It's probably just buffering a little bit. Sometimes our sky cams do that. And I was trying to click through them really fast, so we probably didn't get the clearest image. Can we get it popping up? If not, nothing to worry about. Like I told you, still some cloudy skies down in Warner Robins. Currently, there we go. We finally got that sky cam right there. And you can see that they're still a little bit higher up than maybe surface level, but they are moving at a good clip, and all this cloud cover is forecasted to fall apart as we go throughout the next couple of days. So let's take a look at your current numbers. Mid-50s all the way to mid-60s. So our southern counties have not varied much over the course of this morning, which makes sense because areas farther to the south have the cloud cover, so obviously they're staying around the same temperature that their morning lows were at. However, areas farther to the north, they are running a little bit cooler than the rest of central Georgia, but a little bit better than a couple of hours ago where we saw these temperatures dip down to 48 and maybe 49 degrees this morning. I think Thomaston even hit the 46-degree mark, so about an 8-degree increase in Upson County, and still seeing some shades of light blue up to the northwest of us. Much colder air is present closer to the metro Atlanta area, getting into the northwest portion of the metro Atlanta area. So we still have some fog down in our far southern counties, so maybe Chris County, Wilcox, Telfair, Wheeler, and Montgomery counties. Doesn't look to be too dense in nature. It has gotten thinner throughout the course of this morning. Everyone else is virtually dealing with no fog anymore, but maybe a little bit of those cloudy skies. Taking a look at your satellite and radar picture, you can see this cloud cover virtually popping up out of nowhere. And once again, it started out lower down near the surface because we have plenty of moisture available. Not all that rain was allowed to evaporate with some breaks in sunlight towards the end of the day. So that's why these areas still had a little bit of cloud cover, kind of limiting visibility this morning. But however, it is continuing to rise up into the atmosphere, and it will continue to thin out over the course of the next few hours. So today, going to be a nice and sunny day. I know it doesn't look like it right now besides up here in Macon. 83 degrees for a high temperature, so that is very spring-like, above the 80-degree mark, 9 degrees above average. You are going to be shocked at what some of the temperatures are when I show you the 7-day forecast. Actually, I have the afternoon highs graphic before that, so you'll get a little bit of a preview, an early preview of summer here in central Georgia is what we are calling it. So this afternoon, nice and sunny, maybe a few high-level clouds, but nothing that's going to be a rainmaker. We have some pattern changes ahead for Wednesday and Thursday. We'll have a cloudy morning once again. That's going to help keep our temperatures a little bit warmer. And then we also look at the winds to have a southerly component to them. They're coming in from the southeast right now here at 10 a.m. on Wednesday. When you have moisture and you have warmer temperatures, that's going to sprout maybe some scattered sprinkles, some scattered light showers, maybe even a steadier or a heavier shower. Seeing some pockets of maybe red right there that will start to filter in later into Wednesday evening, Wednesday night more so. I think that will be farther to the east that you do live. Consider yourself lucky if you do get one of these scattered showers in nature, because it is going to act as a cleanse and wash away any of that pollen that builds in throughout today and the first part of tomorrow. The rain fizzles out and we lead the way into another cloudy start on Thursday, and then the thin chance of a sprinkle or two going throughout the day on Thursday. Not too confident in seeing that rain chance as opposed to what we do have Wednesday. And it's a lot better than what's going on to the northwest, because you can see up in the top left of the screen, states like Tennessee, maybe northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, they have another severe weather risk once we go to Wednesday and Thursday. That's not going to be here for central Georgia, so we're going to avoid those storms and that active weather pattern for the midweek. I do want to talk about humidity. This is a map I have not shown in so long. I've been getting back into at least showing the dew points, because now we're going to have moisture playing a factor into our forecast as we get into the warmer months of the year. It's a tale of two stories today. A lot drier up in the northern half of the state, a little bit more humid the farther south that you travel, giving you an idea that this front isn't necessarily ushering in that drier air all the way behind it. And then we'll see this green color continue to push northward even into tomorrow. Some patches of dark green. And take a look at the scale in the top right. The dark green is going to be a little indicative of that air you can wear, that very muggy air. We're only talking dew points just above the 70-degree mark. Thankfully, not the upper 70s or near 80 like we see in the summertime, but that's still going to be good enough fuel to sprout some of those scattered showers in nature, maybe a heavier shower at times. And the humidity still sitting in somewhere in the 60s as we go into your Thursday afternoon. Those dark green patches are all around us, but mainly over towards the west and over on the Atlantic coast of Georgia, getting a little bit of that sea breeze right there. So your allergy monitor, that's going to become important once again today. Didn't really need to worry about the allergies with the storms and all the rain yesterday that did wash this pollen away. Well, tree pollen is still very high. Grass pollen is still at high levels throughout today. Once again, I haven't had to change this forecast in about 5-6 days or so. Ragweed level is going to be none, and then mold is looking to be at low levels as well. So the tree and grass pollen is going to be what's making you sneeze and sniffle throughout today. I'll continue to tell you, as we are in the thick of allergy season, be sure you're taking your allergy medication before heading outside. And if you are sensitive to these types of pollen, please try to not stay outside too long. Make sure that you are limiting your time outside, not outside for prolonged periods of time. So 83 today. And yes, we keep turning up the heat as we go into the second half of the work week. 87, 88 for Wednesday and Thursday. How about 91 and 90 for Friday and Saturday? We were reluctant to put it on the 7-day, but the models have shown good consistency. We could very well see this backtracked into the upper 80s, but even though it's 90 and 91, it's really virtually feeling the same as 87 and 88. I do know that the 90 does make it feel a little bit warmer, and it would be the first time we've hit the 90s in 2025. However, I just want you to know that it's virtually going to feel the same as we go into the end of the work week and the start of the weekend. The morning lows, did get chilly in some areas this morning. How about well above average for the next couple of days? Somewhere in the low 60s to mid 60s, 62, 64, then down to 63 and 62 for Wednesday through Saturday mornings. That will be because we have cloud cover present. It's going to feel a lot more pleasant outside, and definitely not going to need that light layering whatsoever. Like I said, it's a little early preview of summer, if you will. So all the active weather I did mention is going to be up to the northwest of us. This is going all the way into Friday morning right now. And still, this frontal boundary, it's going to drive a severe weather risk in states like Tennessee, Kentucky, up into Missouri, southern Illinois. However, that front is going to stall as it reaches those portions of the country, so it's not going to push all the way through into the southeast like yesterday's did. But then finally we get into the overnight hours, really early Sunday morning. We have another driving force that will kick this front into gear, and that will eventually push it into central Georgia. So this is Sunday afternoon. It still looks like we are holding off with the rain. I do believe most of the weekend, at least 3/4 of the weekend, is going to be dry, and we're going to have those early summertime temperatures. So obviously it will be good for people traveling back into town from spring break. Maybe your spring break is next week, so going out of town, good travel weather. But Sunday later in the day is kind of when things do get fuzzy. This is going overnight into early Monday morning, and that's when we look to have our next chance at widespread rain. And again, you see these darker colors, these yellows, these reds that are normally indicative of possible severe weather. we're not in any outlooks as it does stand right now. This is still a couple days away, so nothing to be concerned about whatsoever. Just think of it as your next chance at some widespread rain to wash the pollen away. And then Future View may be hinting that the European model here in blue has that rain chance lingering in the state of Georgia as we go throughout the second half of Monday. But the GFS says that this is going to move off the Atlantic coast and not be a factor after we go into the morning hours on Monday. So this goes all the way to Tuesday at 4 p.m. I do believe, and it does look like this time next week we will still be dealing with some clear skies. So breaking down your 7-day forecast piece by piece, 83 and then into the upper 80s and low 90s for Wednesday all the way through Saturday. 20% chance of seeing some scattered showers tomorrow. I think that's a little bit greater the farther east that you live, just depending on where the dew points are a little bit higher. And then a less impressive chance, more a sprinkle chance as we go into Thursday. Well, Friday and Saturday, we may very well have that sprinkle chance once again with temperatures like these, humidity still back in the forecast. However, we're not getting the best resolution on the long-range models, so we're going to need to see those day by day. Once we get Friday in view of our short-range future view, then we very well could put a 10% on there. Same thing with Saturday, but for now, it does look like it's trending mostly dry, partly cloudy skies. Nothing that's going to interrupt any outdoor plans whatsoever. Now, Sunday, I put a 20% chance right there, and that's mainly for the evening hours into the nighttime hours on Sunday. Obviously, you did see the timing of that, and we can see that timing fluctuate over the next couple of days. We still look to be nestled somewhere in the mid-80s for high temperatures, but I did put a 20% chance, mainly on the end of Sunday. If we see that same agreement tomorrow, then I'll definitely put an evening tag on this 20% chance of rain. Then we go into Monday. 40% as it stands right now, but we did see the models disagreeing, at least on the timing. So if this is more of a morning rain chance as we get closer and closer, I'll put a morning tag right under that 40%. That's kind of just giving you an inside look about how I go about things specifically with my forecast and the rest of the weather team. But we kick off the month of April today, and I know obviously many of you have probably, like myself, have fallen for their fair share of April Fool's jokes. I, for one, fell for the Instagram post on the Georgia National Fairgrounds that it was for sale, and it is in fact not for sale. So don't believe everything that you do see this week. However, the weather is not something I do joke about, so this is going to be your forecast for the next 7 days. Not an April Fool's joke, unfortunately. I don't think the 90s should be here in April either. However, an early preview of summer, not going to complain whatsoever. We can get the pollen out of here. We can go ahead and start breaking out the pool weather and the pool forecast, so I know I'm looking forward to that. So now let's kind of break down some things from yesterday. We did have our fair share of severe and strong thunderstorms roll through the entire state of Georgia, and we have one confirmed tornado as of right now. This is going to be up in Henry County, north of McDonough, which you can see just at the bottom of the screen right here. This tornado touched down just to the west-southwest of I-75 right here. So this thin line that you see, that's going to be Interstate 75 going up towards Atlanta. That's where this tornado did touch down, and it moved through communities like Flippin, which is a very small community up in north central Henry County, and it went all the way over here, kind of taking an east-northeasterly path is what I drew according to the path that the National Weather Service did give us. It got a rating of EF1. It had 90-mile-an-hour winds, and it did track for about 6.5 miles before eventually dissipating along Brannon Road. If you know anyone up there in Henry County is where the bulk of the damage was done. About 40-plus trees downed on that road, and then some sporadic damage along the path of when it first touched down and when it finally did dissipate. It was only EF1 for that period it did cross Brannon Road in those damage indicators, but no matter if you have a mix of damage indicators, maybe EF0 damage indicators, straight line wind indicators, and then you have some EF1 indicators in there. The National Weather Service does rank these tornadoes according to what their highest damage indicator is, so that's why this Henry County tornado did get an EF1 tag. So not only that, we did have 2 other tornado warnings that the National Weather Service is going to investigate. The one here in central Georgia, northern Houston County and southern Bibb County. They will be sending a survey team out there this afternoon, and we're working to gather that information. Obviously, the weather team and I are closely monitoring that to update that same graphic I just showed you with the path of the Houston County potential tornado, and we are sending reporters down there to hopefully get in touch with the National Weather Service. So we saw that confirmed EF1 that I just showed you in Henry County, but another survey team went out to Noonan, Georgia yesterday, and that report is expected sometime in the next couple of hours, I do imagine. The National Weather Service is up in Peachtree City, so they went to Noonan and they went over to Henry County because those are the areas that are a little bit closer to their office that they could work in a report before it finally did get dark yesterday. The trip down to Houston County and South Bibb is a little bit longer for them, so that's why they decided to hold off until today. However, we did get numerous reports of downed trees, power outages, and even damage from things acting as projectiles with the flying debris all over the state, including here in central Georgia. We're continuing to hear reports come in from a wide variety of counties, whether it was that tornado warning in North Houston and southern Bibb County, or it was just some strong straight line winds associated with the severe thunderstorms, or even just strong thunderstorms that didn't necessarily get a severe tag. So it was quite an active day yesterday, and obviously our fair share of reports and everything have come in on Facebook. We've been scounging the Weather Network. We're continuing to gather those, throw those into shows, and obviously we have seen our fair share of people that aren't necessarily happy with some things and how they went. So that's what I wanted to come on here and kind of talk about a little bit and just give you a kind of behind the scenes look into what our thinking was. So number one, I do want to preface the tornado warning in northern Houston and southern Bibb County. We were monitoring that, but within that tornado warning, there were two separate areas of rotation. One was up in southern Bibb and one was in northeastern Houston County. So we were trying to pinpoint which areas were going to be in the path of both areas of that potential rotation. It's a lot to keep track of just myself, let alone for Ansley and I together. So we're obviously trying to find every bit of information that we can give you, and we tracked it all the way over into when it finally went into Wilkinson County and that circulation did eventually weaken. And I've seen some reports and some comments of people saying that maybe I wasn't the most focused on specific locations and such, and I, for one, will apologize for that. I tried to give as many road names that I actually could in real time, but that wasn't the only area of concern down in Houston County and in Warner Robins. It was also up in southern Bibb, so I was trying to have focus on both of those because there are people living elsewhere. And going off of that, many people probably saw the system come through. Typical thunderstorm, didn't think anything of it, didn't think a lot of our posts and a lot of our information out there really warranted everything that we did. Well, obviously, things might have been good for you, and we are very thankful for that. Maybe not the case for some other people and all these damage reports that we have continued to see. If anyone here in central Georgia is under the threat of seeing some of these potential severe weather impacts, and we're going to be on here and we're going to be posting about it, and we're going to make sure that you are properly informed, whether it's the southern tip of Chris County, the southeastern tip of Montgomery County, or you live right smack dab in the middle of downtown Macon. No matter where you live, we want to make sure that you guys are properly informed, and that's our job. We have a wide viewing area, and we want everyone, even here in central Georgia and a little bit outside of our viewing area, to be prepared for what's coming and to know the latest information. With all that being said, it was a huge team effort for the severe weather coverage. Obviously, all of your comments on Facebook, social media, thanking all of us, specifically Ansley and I. We appreciate them very much, but it really was a team effort. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes that we are able to give you the coverage that we can with our producers and everyone in the newsroom that is gathering information and putting it up on your screen and telling us what we can and can't, or what we can read according to what's going on with the videos and the pictures that you guys are sharing. We thank you for sending those in, and definitely they deserve a huge shout out for that, so we can give you a real view of what's actually going on, not just radar imagery, not just data. And along with our production crew that stayed over the course of the entirety of yesterday. And yes, it was a very long afternoon. Obviously didn't get much of a break whatsoever, so everyone punching all the buttons and everyone that's punching up the buttons right now so I can show you all these graphics. We thank them very, very much. It was a long day. It was a hard-working day, but those are the days that us as meteorologists, we definitely do anticipate. And seeing all the comments come in with all the support and the thankfulness and everyone saying that I felt safe when you were doing the coverage, that's exactly why we do what we do. And we are so proud to do that here in central Georgia. And I, for one, am proud to do that in my hometown community, being a Warner Robins local. So just wanted to have a quick talk about that and obviously tell you where things were with the damage surveys and what we can expect in the future. Thank you guys for tuning in, and it looks like we are at 10:23. Got a few things to do before the midday show. I will be here with you at midday. Ansley Parker is handling the evening shows and the nighttime shows. Ben Jones is enjoying a spring break vacation with his family, so he will be back next Monday. Other than that, I thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to tune in to midday, and we'll continue to keep you updated on this damage survey team down in northern Houston County and southern Bibb County.